Oh my God, are we live?
Yes, sir.
This is it. This is it. Okay, okay. Alrighty. Um, what's good, people? This is my first time ever live on YouTube Live on my own platform. So, for those that don't know who I am, I go by Ninja T, or my legal name is Fadlan. If anyone wants to add me on LinkedIn, Fadlan Effendi. I am a multiple business owner. I've co-founded some cool companies, including but not limited to Blockchain Sensei and Shuriken Sounds. And I'm also on a journey of ascension, whereby my life in the past few months has hit, I feel like, a ceiling where upon self audit, I reflected and I said to and upon reflection, the reason why I feel my businesses are not at the stage where they should be or could be is because I have not prioritized Islam, God, my faith, first and foremost. And within 1 month of making the very, very conscious decision of not missing one prayer, reading extra Quran, doing extra Quran studies, I found that in literally 25 days, my life has ascended to a height which would have been 100% impossible had I not put God and Islam first.
Mm.
Um, so this podcast, the Glitch podcast, as I like to call it, I may change. Is I'm going to be speaking to very very interesting people who are helping me ascend in my journey, and hopefully I can spread this value to other people. Now, the first guest of today, I'm very honored, is the Honorable Rahkim X, who I met on a live stream with the Financial Conspirator. Big ups to our homie. Go check out Rahkim X, Financial Conspirator with Edge Out Trading and myself. And that was a great episode talking about Bitcoin, Bitcoin hash rate, and also sharing some market insights. But yeah, today I will be tapping into the great mind of the young brother Rahkim X. I've always from afar admired as a Muslim man myself, with little real life exposure to the Nation of Islam from afar. Um, the Nation of Islam is definitely a community and a tribe of people who I have the utmost respect for. I've always been in awe of the militancy and the discipline. And obviously, as many of you guys know, I'm a big 19 Keys fan, so that furthered my interest in the Nation of Islam, seeing how he conducts himself. And also, when 19 Keys came to London for the first, not for the first time, but for the first time, I saw 19 Keys at the Earn Your Leisure event. The way I love everyone from that Earn Your Leisure ecosystem, MG the Mortgage Guy, Rashad Bilal, etc., Ian Dunlap. But the difference with 19 Keys was he was moving with like an army. He was moving with like soldiers that were dressed so sharply, just like you're dressed so sharply. And yeah, I'm so lucky that I've been connected with Rakim X. We've had private conversations, and yeah, please, Rakim, introduce yourself.
Man, assalamu alaikum, family, which just means peace be unto you in the Arabic language. Man, it's a blessing to be on here, man. I'm glad we definitely linked up on that episode because I definitely wanted to start, talking more about the Nation of Islam, not just crypto and investments, because I don't feel that's the base of who I am. You know what I'm saying? I think the base and foundation of who I am is really rooted in the Nation of Islam. First, I don't know if I deserve the title of honorable. I haven't done enough work yet, you know what I'm saying, to be honorable, you know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? I'm just striving to be better and be a better person, a better Muslim, and just to grow day by day. But like you said, I'm a registered member in the Nation of Islam. I just recently got registered in the Nation of Islam in 2022, about late 2022, but I was like born into the Nation of Islam. Both my mother and my father were registered members in the Nation of Islam, and we went to Ma 74 in Indianapolis for about half of my life, basically, probably up until I was like 11, 12. And then we moved, and we kind of fell away from it. But I made the conscious decision for myself to actually become a registered member in the Nation of Islam just last year. I just saw the need to grow in certain areas, and I knew the Nation of Islam had, the capability of growing me more into a man of God, a studied man, a learned man. So, I'm just in the process of growth and becoming a better brother, a better soldier in the Nation of Islam, and overall just a better human being.
MashaAllah, what an amazing introduction. So, just to remind myself, I'm going to ask the difference between being born into the Nation of Islam and registering, etc. But because I'm assuming most of my audience are unfamiliar with the Nation of Islam itself, um, within 2 to 5 minutes, for somebody who has no idea what or who or how the Nation of Islam is, could you give a quick introduction to somebody who knows nothing? And I know like 1% more than somebody who knows nothing.
Yeah. So I would say that the difference between being born in the nation and being like a registered member in the
Wait, wait,
Nation of
wait, wait.
Islam.
Let's
Okay.
let's answer that second. But the
Okay.
first question is, what is the Nation of Islam for somebody who is completely unfamiliar with this entity?
Okay. So I'll start with the founding of the Nation of Islam. So the Nation of Islam was founded by Master Farad Muhammad in 1930, who we believe is Allah in person. He came to the black men and women in America in person to basically raise us up from the dead condition that we're in. But in doing that, he raised one who was already among black people, who is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he raised him up and gave him the mission of raising us, not from a physically dead level, because you physically can't, make dead people come back alive, but
Mhm.
to raise us in spirit, in mental and moral principles, you know what I'm saying? Because we were living in such a condition that was so terrible that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he was so deep in the mud, his eyes were just about out of the mud, basically talking about in filth, you know what I'm saying, in indecency and such a low standard of living. So
Because it was the 1920s and it was very
absolutely,
difficult being African American. Obviously, African Americans are still at a disadvantage right now compared to Caucasian Americans, but it was way different in 1920, of course.
absolutely. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was actually born in Georgia, and he was a sharecropper with his family, essentially still a slave in the 1920s, 1930s. Like growing up, he was born in 1897. So essentially, slavery was still going on, although they say it ended in 1865. Slavery has really like never ended. You know what I'm saying? Like especially when you go into the deep, deep South, it never really ended in 1865. It never really just stopped there. So yeah, really, Master Farad Muhammad, he came and he established the Nation of Islam. It's a militant type of structure. There's different ranks in the Nation of Islam, and there's women in the Nation of Islam and there's men in the Nation of Islam. So the men in the Nation of Islam are the FOI, which stands for the Fruit of Islam. It's the military training given to the men who
Yes, yes, because I
belong
see this
to Islam
NOI and
in
there's
North America.
FOI.
Yes, sir. So the NOI stands for Nation of Islam. FOI stands for Fruit of Islam. It's like the fruit being, grown of the tree or off of the tree of Islam. So the women are called MGT or GCC or and GCC, which is the Muslim Girls in Training in the General Civilization class. So these are
Wow.
basically two different training um, classes of growing men and women, children into one Muslims, those who
Wait,
submit.
can I just iterate something? So
Go ahead.
could you just describe the difference between FOI and NOI? Are they obviously NOI Nation of Islam, FOI Fruit of Islam? Is it possible to be the one and not the other?
No, it is not possible to be
Okay,
one and not the other. So the nation of Islam is the nation as a whole. You
right.
know, how you have the United States government, but in the military you have the Marines, you have the Army, you have the Navy, you have. So the FOI is like that. It's like
Oh, so
All of the
is
men.
NOI like a special forces within the NOI?
Absolutely. It's
Okay.
basically the men and all of the men. Once you become in the Nation of Islam, you're an FOI, you're a fruit of Islam. And that's why it's
Okay. But
the
FOI is
military training.
specifically for the men.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay,
And
right. So
MGT and GCC is strictly for the women.
could you just say those acronyms again?
So MGT and GCC, which stands for,
MGT, which stands for
yes, Muslim Girls in Training.
Muslim Girls in Training, and the
Yes.
other acronym is
GCC, which is General Civilization Class.
okay. And to be in those two, you need to be a woman, obviously. And
Absolutely.
are you in both of those at the same time, or one or the other?
As a woman, you would be in both of them at the same time.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah,
So, Nation of Islam, the men are in FOI, and the
absolutely.
women are in, I can't remember the exact acronym, but
MGT and GCC, yes, sir.
exactly. Though, so how come the women are part of two things and the men are part of one thing? Is there any specific reason?
Um, that I don't know, but what I do know is that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said 75% of his work or the work is with the woman because
Mm.
no nation can rise higher than his woman. Like once you raise the woman up to a certain level of life and resurrection, that then pours into the children that are being made in that nation. So if you have a
Oh,
woman who was raised in spirit and mental and moral correctness,
I've
then
just
the
had a
children that will be
revelation.
born in that nation would be like a reflection of the woman, but not only the woman, but the father as well, and 25% with the men. So the work is with both, but mainly with the women in the
With the
nation of
women.
Islam.
And you know what? Obviously, this is called the Glitch Podcast because we're trying to find glitches in the matrix, ripples in the matrix. This is why I wanted to tap into this knowledge that is applicable for everyone, Nation of Islam, Muslim, non-Muslims alike, because essentially we're all on our journey to our truth, right? This actually makes so much sense because if you look at society now, who's more attacked? Who does the Matrix have more when it comes to attacking, femininity, um, uh, um, uh, women's
Yes,
rights? Like,
yeah,
there's
definitely.
more.
Yeah.
There's way. I could be wrong, but actually no. No, let me not go too deep. This is glitch episode one, so I'm gonna withhold what I was gonna say. But yeah, that makes sense for a society to focus on the women first and the men second because it is the women who nurture the children.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And everything that comes through the woman in the pregnancy of the woman will be made manifest in that child.
hmm
That's health wise, however, eating during pregnancy and whatever you're putting into your mind during pregnancy, your thinking comes through into the child in a woman's pregnancy. So
so then it makes sense with that philosophy that sorry, you said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right?
yes, sir.
He spent 75% of his time with spreading the message and teaching women, and 25% of the time with men. That's what that
Well,
probably
not
is.
not not percent of the time,
Right.
but the work, 75% of his work is
His
with
work.
the woman. Not necessarily the time, but the woman has to be reformed. And I believe now I'm not completely sure about this, but I believe the women's classes in the Nation of Islam are more in depth and go more into they have more different training than the men. The men still have a lot of training that we get trained up on. That's just
Wow.
what I know of. But
Wow.
I believe the women do get a much more, a substantial amount more of training.
Yeah, I mean,
On being,
you literally said there's two societies compared to. I don't know if society is the right word,
well, it's
but
the same society, two different trainings.
two different training. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna have to forgive me for incorrect wording because I'm trying to
no,
be as
you
respectful
good,
as
brother.
possible. Yeah, that's why the women get two trainings where the men get one formal training under FOI. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Um, and what is the Nation of Islam today in 2023? Because that was a good history lesson in the backbone. In your own words, because a lot of people will be watching this video and it will be their first ever interaction with the Nation of Islam. In terms of receiving knowledge, what is the Nation of Islam in 2023, and where does it stand in the world, in your opinion?
Well, the Nation of Islam is a smaller nation within a much larger nation of the world. So here we live in America, the United States of America, which is has the biggest military, it's the biggest government in the world. And the Nation of Islam is a smaller nation growing within that nation.
So,
So,
sorry to pause you for a second. By nation, do you actually mean country?
well, I'm not sure exactly what would define a country because I think land may play into that as well, having your own set of land.
Mhm.
But nation, as in structure,
Okay.
it's a military structure and a society. So we're just building a nation within this much broader nation. It's like it's like Israel and Palestine in reverse. Israel was once the smaller version, or was once had a smaller piece of Palestine, but now Israel grew, in many different immoral and destructive ways, I would say. But
Yeah,
it
we're free
grew.
Palestine.
Absolutely,
we're,
yeah. It,
we're,
it
we're
grew.
on that side over here.
It grew to now overtaking majority of Palestine,
Mhm.
um, which is now majority called Israel. But I would say the Nation of Islam still does the same work, and the same work is the resurrection of the dead, the spiritually and mentally and morally dead people in America. And that starts with our own people. That starts with Black people in America because we're still incredibly ignorant. Even myself, I be like sometimes just keeping it real. Like I,
Go
I got a level of ignorance to me. You know what I'm saying? It's a certain level of ignorance that I have, but I'm striving to get rid of it. And the Nation of
And
Islam
the
is
important thing
working.
is, for everybody listening to take away, is that you acknowledge that. Like, you
Absolutely.
acknowledge that you have a level of ignorance. Just like I acknowledge that I am so far from my ascension goal. And this is the journey. That's why these, high level conversations are extremely important.
And to go further into explaining, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the national representative of the Nation of Islam. So he is the head, he's the chief of the Nation of Islam. He's the national representative because he's representing, or he's in the place of he's representing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who we believe is still physically alive and that he is in power with Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad on what we call the mother wheel and what the world calls UFOs. But I would say that is the state of the Nation of Islam still doing the work with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at the head of the helm, leading the charge and still working at 90 years old. He just turned 90 years old a couple Thursdays ago.
MashaAllah.
So, you know,
Happy belated to
um,
Louis Farrakhan.
absolutely.
So
So,
how long has Louis Farrakhan been the leader of the Nation of Islam?
so the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he started the work of rebuilding the Nation of Islam in 1977. After the Nation of Islam actually fell in 1975, after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed, some believe that he died, and we believe that he did not die, but he was saved in a death plot by Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he started the work of rebuilding the Nation of Islam in 1977, and ever since then, he's been keeping the nation up, keeping the nation running. The Nation of Islam is
That's a long time. 1977. That's 23. It's like
absolutely.
46 years.
Let me see. Let me do my mental calculator. Yeah, that's about 46 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Guy's really dedicated his life to the whole thing. This is why he's honorable.
Absolutely. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? You see why I can't take the name honorable. That's honorable.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then,
yeah.
and then before he started building the Nation of Islam back up, he got registered. He became a registered member in the Nation of Islam in 1955.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1955 to 1975, when the nation fell, he was a registered member for
Wait,
20 years.
why did the nation fall?
Well, the Nation of Islam fell after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed and was no longer among us. Uh, his son, Worth Deen Muhammad, took over as the leader of the Nation of Islam. And, this is something I'm still picking up a lot of history on, but Worth Deen did not, one, believe that his father was the messenger of Allah, and he didn't believe that Allah, who came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, was Allah. And he essentially took the Nation of Islam on a different track, in a different way from which was already working for the past 40 years under the
Okay.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So his son, Worth Deen Muhammad, actually, um, I don't want to say crashed the Nation of Islam. I don't want to say that, but it fell under his leadership. And that's about all I can say for now. I don't have all of
How
the
long was the
information.
Nation of Islam fallen for before it rose again in 1977 by Louis Farrakhan?
I believe about three, was it 3 and 4 months, I believe. About 3 years and 4 months, somewhere around there.
Okay, so
And then
Elijah Muhammad was, as you guys believe, taken from the Earth, from what people would call UFOs, but we call them extraterrestrial beings. In what, 72, 73?
yes, or 1975.
In 1975, but wasn't Louis Farrakhan appointed the leader in 1977? So that was only 2 years apart, right?
Yes, sir. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was still among us, he was still the national representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So he was just below him in rank,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, he didn't start to read. But when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad actually was departed from us, the leader of the Nation of Islam was made Worth Deen Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's son. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stayed a part of the Nation of Islam for a little bit until he decided to leave because he saw the direction that his son was taking the Nation of Islam, and he left the Nation of Islam himself. But later on, after the Nation of Islam was no longer being talked about, Minister Farrakhan came back up. He rose back up and started the work again of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Okay, makes sense. So, could you explain to the audience what exactly is the work of the Nation of Islam, from briefly from the original work to what is the work in present day?
Well, the original work and the work in the present day is still the same.
Okay,
The work is the resurrection of the dead, and that starts with resurrecting our people first, and then going out to the rest of those around the world, of those people who are dead in spirit, dead mentally, dead morally.
so let me just backtrack. So, the number one focus of the work of the Nation of Islam is to resurrect the dead. Now, by resurrect the dead, you mean that hypothetically, you mean that like spiritually speaking, right? Spiritually dead, like,
Absolutely, not a
because it's
physical
important to
resurrection. Because
define dead.
once,
'Cause we're not here to, you're not here to resurrect zombies or anything like that.
absolutely not. Once, we're not here to go and start teaching to somebody who is in a grave and then they automatically pop up out of their grave that they was already put in. Now, once you're dead physically, you're dead physically.
And a
You're
lot's
done.
got to do with you in the afterlife, right?
Okay, yeah. Once you're dead, you're dead physically. But our work is with those who are living and who essentially are zombies in their mind. A zombie is somebody or something that is brain dead and is now, operating on a reptilian animal like state. And you can argue, not you can argue. The fact is that people are in a reptilian and animal like state, with the
I
main
agree.
ones being black people in America. Like, look how we just maliciously kill each other for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Look how we treat our women. It's like we're beasts in human form. And we've taken that on by or from 400 years of slavery that we've been under white people. Now we live like them. We have their ways, we have their everything, we have their moral standard. We think like them in the way that they thought. Remember, the same founding fathers who founded America were the terrible, the poor, the worst of the worst of London. And
Well,
now
well,
we're
the United
and now
Kingdom. Yeah, yeah.
or the United Kingdom, of course, yeah. And now we're acting like the worst of the worst. We're acting and we're moving like our slave masters or our former slave masters and their children. We're adopting their ways. And especially once integration came and we dropped our black businesses, we dropped our black stuff, and we wanted to go and be integrated with white people. So now we're intermingling with them. We're in the bed with them. We're becoming them and we're wanting to be them. That's why in the scripture we're described as the children of Israel, and America is the big Israel. America backs Israel, sends them money, sends billions of dollars to Israel every year,
It,
and this is the big Israel. And now we're the children of Israel because we've taken on the ways of Israel.
I've heard this term, Israelites, original Israelites. Is that related to the Nation of Islam?
Uh, I would say so. In a study here, I can bring it up right here.
Please.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan describes white people as being the real Israelites of the Bible, essentially. And I would
So
say
could
that
you
is
could you just
that.
define what Israelite is? Because
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sure a lot of people won't.
now that's something that I can't give you the exact answer of, but basically the Israelites are like uh Israelites are like they're like the people of a community or a society, of the
Mhm.
broader society. Like how I explained how the United States of America is, a big and powerful nation.
Mhm.
But in the nation, I guess you can say that the people are the Israelites. Or I guess you can say white America is like the Israelites. And within that, you have the children of Israel. So you have like the children of the Israelites, which are black people because we've adopted the ways of the Israelites. Now,
Okay.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm not the most um, biblically and scripturally astute on the Bible, but yeah, I'll just leave it right there. I'm not the most physically or scripturally astute on the children of Israel and the Israelites, but
Mhm.
that's what I can describe. Now, I
Okay.
do want to. You can go ahead. I wanted to find where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan described the Israelites in one of our studies here. But you can keep going ahead if you have any further.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. That makes sense. So, um, rewinding to uh, earlier, what is the difference between being born in the Nation of Islam and registering? Because just because you're born into it does not
Mm.
mean that you're a registered member. So I know we had this conversation privately. So if you could reshare that with the audience, what registering with the Nation of Islam means.
Okay, so being born in the nation, you have. So for my case, I had parents who were already registered members in the Nation of Islam, both of them. So I was born as what people call now a nation baby. So I'm like a nation baby. So I'm born in the Nation of Islam. I'm going to the mosque with my parents. I'm adopting and living the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and growing in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Um, and you haven't necessarily pledged your allegiance to the work or the responsibility that comes with being a registered member in the Nation of Islam. Now, when you become a registered member in the Nation of Islam, that's like taking your shahada or like, so for us is like writing a letter. So there's a letter called the Savior's letter that every person who wants to be a part of the Nation of Islam has to go through. So you have to write your Savior's letter, um, and then after that you have to recite your student enrollment, which is a questions or series of questions and answers, and you have to recite that, and you would be a part of the Nation of Islam.
Okay, that makes sense. So you said you've only become a registered member in 2022.
Yes, sir.
So you are how old are you again? I forget.
I'm 20 years old. I'm 20.
20 years old. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So between 0 to 18, you weren't a registered member of the Nation of Islam, but you were still doing work within the Nation of Islam, just unregistered work. I just want to understand
As a
the
child,
registered Rahkim.
now that's something that I have to look deeper into because I don't have children, so I can't, really
No, no, no,
relate
no.
to that.
What I mean is you've only just registered in 2022,
Yes, sir.
but 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. What was your involvement in the Nation of Islam, if any, as a non-officially registered member, but somebody who was born into the Nation of Islam and had both parents that were registered? What made you not register at 13, 14?
Well, I think you're not okay. So let's say, in my case, of course, my parents, they had a child and they were raising me in the mosque. Of course, I'm not, conscious enough yet to register myself as a young child. So I'm
That
growing
makes
up
sense.
with them. I'm going to, a school in the mosque that I was at. It was a Bismillah Academy before I was started going to public school and things like that. Um, I think, and then to answer your question about what was my involvement with the Nation of Islam around 13, 14, I didn't really have
All the
a,
way to 18, like
yeah,
17,
all
18.
the
Those
way
were
up
like
until that
social
time, I
media.
didn't have a on hand or a direct in person relationship with the Nation of Islam. Like there was a point in time where me and my family stopped attending the mosque and stopped being involved in the mosque. And it's not nothing that because of the Nation of Islam. It's just, as humans, we all got our things that we go through. And with my parents, what I'm saying, they were going through things with marriage and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
and this is what I hope to relay to my audience is that life ebbs and flows. You
yeah.
know, there was a time in my life where a lot of people know me as Ninja T, upcoming rapper from Manchester, Asian British, and I was doing my thing on
Yeah.
those 2018, and then I'm from Manchester, which is the north of the UK, and I moved to
Mhm.
London in 2020, and I was originally chasing a music career, and then lockdown, I had to change, got into e-commerce, and I started really getting into crypto and trading. And then people who follow the journey from 2017, 2018 can see the evolution of myself, Fadlan, or most people know as Ninja T, from somebody who really wanted to make it in music to somebody who was really focused on tech to somebody who started doing some tech stuff in music, and then now, as much as I love all those worldly things, trading, crypto, business, music, all of that entertainment, I'm now positioning myself where I'm gonna put Allah, God first, my religion first, because like you, there is still a lot of things that I'm uninformed of about our religion, etc. And
And you see the importance of
yeah,
having
yeah,
a lot and a certain structure in your life.
100%,
And I think
100%.
up until that point, I started studying the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad a lot more in my senior year of high school. That was maybe like 2018, or not senior year, my junior year of high school. That was probably like 2018, maybe like beginning 2017 or something like that, or late 2017. And I started studying really heavy because I just saw within myself, I saw it necessary
Wait,
to
can,
learn and
can I just pause
educate
you?
myself.
Can I just pause you? So senior year, you was how old? How old?
I was, I was 17.
17. So before 17 years old, now you're 20 years old, because I want to just make this relatable to everybody on any kind of spiritual journey. Up until 17 years old, would you say you weren't consciously making an effort with regards to studying Islam and the Nation of Islam? Like you were just accepting you were Muslim? Because I've always accepted I was Muslim. I've never denounced my religion. I've never said I don't believe in Allah. But there was definitely periods in my life where I wasn't waking up for Fajr prayer, or I was missing
Where
this.
you were going astray.
Say again?
You were going astray from the right path, basically. And the
Exactly.
same thing with me. I never grew up disbelieving in Allah. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
never grew up, you know what I'm saying? Like I knew of Islam, I knew about Allah, but it was one of those things that I was in an environment where other people weren't talking about or conversing about Allah or stuff like that. And I put it in the back of my mind.
Yes, because it's not in the forefront of your mind.
And imagine like I'm in middle school and going through early parts of high school, and I'm saying certain things, and people might think I'm a conspiracy theorist, or people
Wait, this
might.
this this is public school, right? You went to public
Yeah,
school.
this is public school. I'm in public school, so I'm
Okay.
going through school, and I may say things, and I may try and talk about Islam or something like that, or Elijah Muhammad or Allah, and people might call me a conspiracy theorist, or people like like these are people my age. Like I'm in my teenage years. You talking about God? You talking about Allah? You talking about like being conscious, this and that? But this is something I grew up with, so it's like a
It's
part of
because
me
you
that
are
I can't.
the dead, right?
Essentially, so I was becoming dead.
Yeah.
I was becoming dead because I'm putting all that I know in the back of my mind and honestly acting like it doesn't exist. But in the back, I know it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Your
level of
consciousness
exposure,
knows.
absolutely. And I've been exposed to a community of Black people who are together and doing things together, and they're striving to be right, live right, morally. And then now I'm in public school, and everybody is like, to do wrong is right.
But 100%. So, but when you was younger, you went to a Nation of Islam school, right?
Yeah, probably. I was really young, probably up until I went to public school. Yeah, I would say probably up until I went to public school, which was in elementary school. So it was essentially like my preschool. You know how
Right,
people have
right.
preschool or kindergarten? I never necessarily went to like kindergarten or preschool, but um, yeah, it was essentially like my preschool.
Oh, okay. And just to share with everyone, when we were speaking privately, I asked you how many non-Nation of Islam friends, but Muslim friends, do you have? And you said you can count them on one hand. So, is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is-
So you basically growing up your whole life in public school, where was there anybody from the Nation of Islam from that school?
hmm. Trying to think, was there anybody from the Nation of Islam that I went to school with? Because I've switched schools. I did many different things.
Right, right, right.
Mm, I don't think there was.
Okay, so
I
no
don't
from the
think there
Nation of Islam,
was.
and basically nobody who's Muslim. So then,
You may have heard of people in school who they heard of Malcolm X, and that was about it. They
I
might have not
totally
heard about
agree with
Malcolm
my
X.
question.
They
I
might
never
just
touched
know
it.
about Martin Luther King and just Malcolm X,
Yeah.
and that's it. But I don't think I've encountered anybody in public school who was a part of the Nation of Islam or grew up in the Nation of Islam. You know what I'm saying? And it was one of those things like is not really like understood
Yeah,
amongst
yeah.
people.
So for me, just to share, you know, the communities I grew up in is because Islam is a popular religion in the United Kingdom. You know, I've always been close to my religion in the sense
Mhm.
like community wise, even school and college, etc. So it was easier to stay more like spiritually disciplined, even though I still went astray to a certain extent. I want to touch on something. Malcolm X. I'm hearing things. I'm looking things online. It's not clear. Some people are saying that he was not liked by the Nation of Islam or something like that. And I've only ever tapped in a little bit, and he seems to be saying great things when it comes to onto the video. So What's all this about? Nation of Islam, Malcolm X, problems,
Yeah, Malcolm X,
and light.
he was like a one a product of the teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and a minister under him.
Right.
So
So a high level member of the Nation of Islam.
absolutely. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was actually in the mosque that Malcolm X was teaching in, or he was in. So he was like he was um, at one point ranked below Malcolm X. I don't want to be wrong. At one point he was, but Malcolm X was a great minister for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it came to a point where Malcolm X an order was given by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to not speak on, I believe it was the death of JFK. So
Yes.
that order went out to everybody in the Nation of Islam, regardless of who you were. And
To not speak on the death. Was it? Do you
uh,
know the reason why?
no, I can't remember why,
Okay, no
but the
problem.
why may be out there. There's a brother in the Nation of Islam, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, who breaks down Malcolm X his whole sojourn in the Nation of Islam and many different events and stuff like that that happened with Malcolm X. And I would recommend y'all go and go to his YouTube channel and get more information on it. But Malcolm X was a part of the Nation of Islam, and he basically, when the order went out from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad not to speak on it, he spoke on it. He said something about it, and he said
So that was the major problem that the Nation of Islam had with Malcolm X, that he spoke on
no,
JFK's death.
the Nation of Islam didn't have a problem with Malcolm X,
Right.
but when he said something about JFK, he was then given like timeout or like given a suspension from the Nation of Islam for basically like disobedience. Like you disobeyed a direct order from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he was suspended for a period of time. And in that period of time, um, I believe he went on and like started like doing like nationalist things and stuff like that. And he it came to a point where he started speaking on the domestic life of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Um,
Okay.
so that was Malcolm X, and he was really great in his work of the Nation of Islam. But one thing that I never really understood growing up, knowing about the Nation of Islam, I'm like, why does everybody know about Malcolm X and nobody knows about Elijah Muhammad, who is his teacher? Like he's the one who should be spoken about. You never really hear about Elijah Muhammad being the teacher of Malcolm X. It's just like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. You know, people may compare him to like the good and the bad guy.
Wait, Martin Luther King was part of the Nation of Islam.
No, sir, he was not. But
Right.
I'm saying, growing up in public school, you hear those two names a lot, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and they put the stigma of Malcolm X being like the bad guy, or and then Martin Luther King being like the good guy,
Right.
which essentially almost like it paints a picture of one like what Malcolm X represented. If people are looking at him as the bad one, or the more hardcore one, and they're looking at Martin Luther King as like the peace. He's the one, he helped everything, which they both did. I'm not discrediting none of their work,
Yeah.
but it was essentially like trying to paint the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, out of the picture by putting up Malcolm X, who was the student more than the teacher. So a lot of people especially in the United States, know about Malcolm X, but don't know about Elijah Muhammad. And
I
the
mean,
real
I'm
message,
sure, I'm sure there's like some reason why the puppet masters of the Matrix decided to put this person in front of the person who should be getting more of the attention. I'm sure
well,
that is some. I'm sure that's some. How would something organized behind the scenes, because
I think
logically
it's
what you're saying makes sense, and I didn't know who Elijah Muhammad was till pre 19 keys 2021 when I started tapping into. I only know these names because of 19 keys,
I
and
think it's
that's my
because
fascination increased.
when you have a man who is calling himself the messenger of God, Allah at that, the best name that you can give God, Allah. And he is teaching a message that will essentially free people from the very system that they're living in, and that this system is thriving off of. People are thriving. There are people thriving off of the ignorance of people. And what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is doing is getting people out of ignorance into light, getting people out of darkness into
Yeah,
light. And
yeah.
he's teaching people how to eat to live, who certain people are, who is the devil, who is God. You know what I'm saying? He's teaching people all of these things, which will eventually lead them to freeing themselves from the burden that this world puts on people. So you put the student in front. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a short man, so you putting the student in front of the teacher, and it's like he's like overcasting. You know how you can market a whole person with money, and you'll never know about who this other person is, or you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying. What,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it was the wraparound. This is the whole picture. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is literally doing, like, he's the whole everything. Malcolm X's teaching is based off of the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. Message to the Black Man, How to Eat to Live, How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2, The Fall of America, Our Savior Has Arrived. All of his work was basically um, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
To, towards the end of
Majority.
Towards the end of Malcolm X's life, is it? Am I correct or am I incorrect in saying that that was when he got kicked out of the Nation of Islam?
It wasn't towards the end of his life that he got kicked out. He was kicked out of the Nation of Islam, um, completely you know what I'm saying, not relative to his killing. He was kicked out of the Nation of Islam for a specific reason, and from there, um, actually on the day that he passed or was killed, assassinated, there's belief that he was going to come out and basically uh, try to get back into the Nation of Islam. And that's where I said the brother Dr. Wesley Muhammad has all the information on what transpired there and what happened with Malcolm X. I'm talking about, he goes in deep, talking about from the CIA, from everywhere,
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Man,
It's
he
something
goes
I wanna
he
look into.
goes deep,
So
bro.
big ups to Wesley Muhammad. Anyone who wants to really understand the Malcolm X situation, as plugged in by Rahkim X, check out Wesley Muhammad's content, and I will do that. I will be sure to do that. What I understand is if Malcolm X got kicked out of the Nation of Islam, um, is he allowed? Should he even been called Malcolm X? Because isn't the point of X when you're part of the Nation of Islam? So shouldn't he just been Malcolm?
Well, he received his X when he became a registered member in the Nation of Islam. Like,
But
as
then
you
when you
said,
get kicked out, do you not get your X taken off?
essentially, but once you get that big, the name sticks. People are
Right.
now looking at you like you're Malcolm X. If I grow to a point um, of following, and people will look at me, I'm just paraphrasing. I don't wish that this would happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
People are looking
hypothetical.
at me and they're like, "Oh, Rahkim X," and then I get kicked out of the Nation of Islam, and I no longer have, or I get suspended, I get time out, and I no longer, have my X or something like that. And then everywhere I go now, people are like, "Rahkim X." It sticks because at the height of who I was,
You was
or
Rahkim X.
at the
Yeah.
height of my work, I'm, you know,
So technically, Malcolm X, as soon as he got kicked out of Nation of Islam, he was actually no longer Malcolm X, and he was just Malcolm.
I don't know for sure. I don't know all the full details of it.
Because that sounds
Um,
logical to me.
yeah, I don't know the full details of how that goes down. When a person no longer, like, if they get their slave name right back, I'm not sure
Okay.
how that works, but he was no longer a member. He wasn't active in the Nation of Islam when he was suspended.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to tap into is the Nation of Islam's work with non-members of the Nation of Islam, because one thing that really strikes me is I've seen like a lot of rappers for example, the game, pay a lot of homage to the Nation of Islam. So, could you tell me about the works that Nation of Islam has done, including but not limited to, just a personal interest of mine with like gangs in LA and the Crips and the Bloods and that kind of world that I've just tapped into it a little bit.
Well, man, the work of the Nation of Islam is nearly 93 years old, about to
Okay,
turn 93 uh, this year
okay.
on July 4th. Um, the work is immeasurable, and one moment in history that I can point out, which was unseen, never seen before, and has never been done before since then, was the Million Man March in 1995, I believe.
The
And
Million Men March in 1955. Okay,
The Honorable Minister was
what
very
happened
kind.
then?
He called on a million men to come to Washington D.C.
Wow.
And it was basically the Million Man March, a million black men, not just a million men, black men,
Okay.
and black men from all around the country came to the Million Man March. Even Barack Obama was there in 1995. You see, this was heavily impacted in the black community on a Monday.
Wait, sorry. I thought you said 1955, 1995.
Oh, 1995. I'm sorry. If I
Okay,
said
that's when I was born.
1955, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
amazing.
Yeah, 1995. So you got a million plus black men gathering together on a Monday when most of them have to work.
Yeah, so everyone's taking the day off work, etc.
Absolutely, everybody's taking the day off work. Women taking days off work and watching it on TV. Women helping getting, everybody is transportation to Washington and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they actually
What's on
said it was
social media
closer.
these times? You can't post on your IG story.
Yeah, in the last, the number was more closer to 2 million black men that showed up. It wasn't just a million. It was close to 2 million black men that showed up to the Million
Wow.
Man March. And if you see a picture, all of Washington D.C. like was just packed with black men, strictly black men. And yeah, like I think the other part of what you're asking, like you asked specifically about like the gangs and stuff like that, the Bloods and the Crips. There's been multiple occasions where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has had conflict resolution meetings with both
Yes,
Bloods and
conflict
Crips.
resolution.
Absolutely, conflict resolution meetings with Bloods and Crips, bringing them together and him being like the mediator of their situations. Because a lot of the times it's not even actual people who are affiliated with them that are causing the crimes or that are causing the conflict. There are agents who are causing the conflict in these different groups. Talking about
Agents of the
you got
Matrix. I
you got
know.
FBI agents, CIA agents posing to be a Blood or posing to be a Crip, and they run up on the opposing, I guess, gang and are killing. And then now
Yeah,
the
so
other gang
basically
is like,
causing
hold on, they
conflict,
just
right?
killed
That's like
our homie.
it's
They
like
just killed.
it's like with the Black Lives Matter protests, and then there was like bricks and like there was just so much evidence that these protests are
Being incited. They're being,
incited. That was the creator that I was looking for the word. Yeah,
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 they're
yeah.
being incited. They're being magnified. So yeah, and then the work in terms of bringing people together and bringing people in unison and having black people start businesses and start working together, start farming. I've been inspired by. There's a lecture series called "The Time and What Must Be Done" by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he's breaking down the time and what must be done, the truth about governments, the truth about the
The
mother,
time that must be done.
the time and what must be done. You can find it on YouTube. It's a 58 video lecture series
The time
where it's
that
just him
must
teaching.
be done by Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
You can probably, if you can't find it, I can
there
send
we
you.
go. There we go, guys. And I wanted to share my screen so other people could also look it up. This is it, right?
Let's see. I can't see your screen yet,
Oh,
but
you
there's
can't see my screen? Oh man. Okay, look.
yes, sir. Yeah. That's the
Okay.
whole lecture series. Where it's him literally just teaching for 58 straight lectures about the Nation of Islam prophecy,
Yes.
Master Prophet Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, everything, everything. So in one of those videos, he's talking about farming, and it has influenced me to start, doing like hydroponic farming and things like that. The
Sorry.
influence
What
of
is hydroponic farming?
all right, yeah, real quick. Hydroponic farming is basically like growing food in water, basically like a water reservoir. So like roots will be submerged in water, and then you're basically growing food from that. So I have a Instagram about it and a TikTok where I post about like how I do it and certain things like when I'm
Yeah,
growing.
I've seen a few clips. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah. I've
sir.
seen a
Yes,
few,
sir.
yeah.
So it's basically growing food, growing things in submerged in water with the roots submerged in water. So yes, sir.
You know what? Connecting to that and growing food, you said a very, very significant phrase. You said "eat to live." That's very Dr. Sabi. So was the first of all, has Dr. Sabi got anything to do with the Nation of Islam?
Yes, sir. I believe Dr. Sabi was actually a member of the Nation of Islam at one point. There's a video of him saying he was like, "I'm a Muslim." Elijah Muhammad, I learned he was basically saying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is very intelligent, very smart man,
Yeah.
and he's breaking down how he learned a lot from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and everything that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught of in How to Eat to Live books 1 and 2 in the world, they now call it intermittent fasting, which we just call it in the Nation of Islam eating 1 meal a day. And then,
Is that what you guys do? Eat one meal a day?
yes, in the Nation of Islam, it is law to eat 1 meal a day. So,
Wow.
then you're going to be in line with How to Eat to Live. So, the human body is not made to eat 3 times a day. When you eat 1 meal a day, or when you eat 1 meal, it takes 24 hours or about a day for your whole body to digest that 1 meal. So if you're eating 3 meals a day, you are stacking 3 days worth of food digestion on your stomach. Now, the reason that they tell you to eat 3 meals a day is because they run the pharmaceuticals. And when you get sick from eating 3 meals a day, because your body is trying to break down all of the toxins within your stomach, and your stomach is breaking it down, toxins are being released into your body now. So you're stacking toxins being released into your body. And then on the other side, they're running the pharmaceutical industries. The
Yeah,
10%.
I know about America's agenda to keep the nation sick because literally
They make a lot of
there's
money
a,
off of people's
yeah,
sickness.
yeah, yeah. Everything's supersized in America, and there is a lot of ingredients in American products that are illegal everywhere else in the world, including the UK. Like a lot of like American sweets and stuff, they wouldn't fly like over here in the UK and other European countries.
Yeah,
So
I heard someone say that the food in the UK is bland, but it's actually the fact is that it's not so sugarized and
yeah, yeah. I mean,
soft
I'm not saying
in
it's
here.
great, but it's definitely a bit better. Even you guys cereal, like it's crazy.
Extremely
It's just
sugary.
candy.
Extremely, even on the side of the cereal boxes, it'll say made with bioengineered ingredients. So even lab-made ingredients put into the food here in America. So you got to be really careful.
You know,
I done found a cereal that has, what I'm saying, no bioengineered ingredients, and it's
you
pretty
know what's
good. You know
crazy?
what I'm saying?
Just a light-hearted stray. There is a big trend in the UK, and it's become more and more popular. They're called American sweet shops. So it's basically sweets that. So for example, like Fanta, for example, right? I shouldn't be talking about that. I kind of feel bad because this sounds like advertising. It's not. Don't drink Fanta, guys. Drink water. But like in the UK, we got two flavors. We got the orange and the red.
Hmm.
But you guys have like 20 different flavors.
Oh yeah, we got
The blue one, the purple
grape,
one,
blueberry. You got orange. You got watermelon, cherry. You got
and you know what's crazy
banana.
is like people are so conditioned to drink like the banana flavored sweet that people forget what the banana tastes like.
Yeah, you like just
You
go eat
become
a banana.
detached to the original thing that is supposed to emulate.
Even
Um,
the fruit here is even injected with bad ingredients,
yeah,
pesticides sprayed on the food and the farms and stuff like that. Man, it's everywhere you look. There's bad food in America.
Yeah. Not that the food here is great, but just marginally less worse. I guess is the correct
I, I
terminology.
was I was talking to a sister from Morocco one time, and she was like, "Man, the food here is not real food. You know, it's not real food." And she was just telling me about like how everything there, the fruit, like you can actually taste it is real. You know, it's like
Yeah,
you get the whole sensation of where she's from and the spices that they have. And here the food is so artificial. It's
hundred
terrible.
percent, 100%. So back to like Dr. Sabi and Eat to Live. So do you guys follow like an ITAL diet? Do you eat meat?
Um, the main, of course, we don't eat pork in the Nation of Islam. That's prohibited. That's
Astaghfirullah,
forbidden.
never.
Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad does teach that the meat is not supposed to be consumed by the human body. You know what I'm saying? The human body isn't made to consume meat.
Okay.
Now, being 100%, I still eat chicken. I still eat turkey. It's not prohibited
Right.
meat, but pork is prohibited. Meat
So
isn't
so
prohibited, but
but is
I
it encouraged? So is it encouraged to be to follow a plant based diet within the Nation of Islam? Though meat is
absolutely,
not
yeah,
prohibited, is that what
yeah,
is?
yeah. It's encouraged, yeah.
I
So
love that. I love that. Yeah. Honestly,
yeah, so
that
and the
that
main
is a
thing,
whole other thing. Like my father has been plant based for 5 years, and I swear he is reversed in aging
yeah,
from like 51 to 56. I feel like he's gone
and
back in time.
fasting does the same as well. When you're fasting, you're taking that time away from food, whether if it's like what they call like wet fasting now, where it's just like, well, in the nation we do 3-day fasts, the first Thursday of uh of every week, or of every month, not of every week, of every month. So the first Thursday of every month, we do like a 3-day fast where you just drink water, coffee, or
Wait, 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 wait. So the first Thursday of every month in the Nation of Islam, you fast Thursday, Friday, and Saturday,
leading all the way up until the afternoon of Sunday.
leading all the way to the afternoon of Sunday, and you don't eat anything. You only drink water and coffee and tea.
Yeah.
Juice? You like juice?
Nah, no, no, no. We don't.
No
I don't
juice.
think. I don't think you're supposed to eat juice. I mean, drink juice during that time. I don't know if anybody has drunk any juice. I've just done water and coffee.
Water, coffee. Are you allowed tea?
I believe people do substitute tea with coffee because some people don't like coffee. But
Yeah.
I believe some people do drink tea during that time.
Wow. And then when does it start? Is it like before Fajr, before sunrise?
No. So the Thursday it starts in the evening. So after your last meal in the evening. So after you eat your
What?
last meal Thursday evening, it'll go the fast will go all the way up until Sunday evening.
But is it specific? Is it like after Maghrib, before Isha, or just any time Thursday night? Because by that definition, it could be 11:58 p.m.
Well, in the evening, how long is evening? Like mathematically, what is that? Where does the evening from? Is that from? I'm about to look that up right now.
I don't know if there's like a mathematical, geographical. Like for me,
Okay.
evening night is like a general consensus and feeling. I don't know if there's like a official astronomical, geographical term when it's like. For me, the evening is when the evening ends when the sun goes down. When it's Maghrib, when it's the fourth prayer, that's to me is
Okay,
now.
so the evening is from 6 to 9. So
So you can eat until 8:58 p.m., 8:59 p.m. Then 9 p.m. you gotta lock it off.
yeah, yeah, basically.
Okay.
And some people probably don't be exact like that. They may slide in the middle at night. But yeah, so from the Thursday evening all the way up until Sunday evening.
You know what? I am going to try that. I'm gonna try it.
It
Okay,
is
so
is
okay,
very refreshing. I'm gonna be honest. Like you really feel your whole body like re-energized. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Okay,
like
so
doing the 3 day fast
June the 1st is the first Thursday
of
of
June.
June. Yeah. I, for the first time in my life, I'm going to attempt this fast.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've never in my life fasted for more than 24 hours, but that's dry fast. And the only reason why I fasted for that amount of time was because I'm going to be so real. During Ramadan, you guys do Ramadan, right?
yes, sir.
All right, okay, cool. So there's no difference. You wake up before sunrise, break your
Yes,
fast
sir.
after sunset. Okay, cool.
Yes, sir.
Amazing, right? Just want to make sure there's no difference in practices. Um, there was a few times I missed my alarm and I didn't wake up for Fajr. So by that definition, I was fasting for 24 hours, but not
Yeah,
hours.
that's
Um,
happened to me multiple times, bro. I'll be
yeah, and
like,
dude, it's so annoying. It's so annoying. Inshallah,
now you
this is
gotta go the whole day, and you like that's when it's really getting real. You like, oh my goodness, like I know I didn't.
damn, I could have ate at 4 a.m. This is my fault for not having discipline to go to sleep at like 10, 11 p.m. and being up till 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. on charts. And that is the dunya distracting me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't need to be doing technical analysis at 2 a.m., 2 hours before the sunrise in Ramadan. Right? I need to be in bed. So,
yeah,
inshallah, Allah both. I think it's important to admit these things as well because
yeah,
this
bro.
yeah,
We human. We
yeah,
are
yeah.
human. Like I would be wrong if I came on here and I was trying to be acting like the most righteous saint in the world. Like
Mhm.
I'm not. I got a lot of stuff that I'm working on within myself. You know what I'm saying? And I know that, and I'm working on bettering myself in all of these different areas. Like
That's beautiful,
we
brother. That's
we
beautiful.
not perfect out here, man. But
Um,
that's why we're striving. Like we're black people living in America, striving to be Muslims. Submit our will to God in a godless and sinful America.
you know what I
Really,
love? You know what I love is the fact that like black people, without a doubt, are the most oppressed in the United States amongst South Asians, East Asians, Latinas, and just straight for a second. I remember 19Q saying like, "I love brown people. Their struggle is almost as hard as ours." Like, that's how I relate to them. But
yeah.
um, but
Because
anyway, right,
y'all are closest to us in nature.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because all the South Asians. Um, so what do I want to say? I lost my point. Yeah, eating once a day. So are you telling me that every day you eat once? Do you snack? Can you have a banana? Can you have a Snickers?
Now again, full transparency. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches we should eat 1 meal a day without anything in between.
Oof.
And now I believe like
Listen,
water. I believe water and stuff like that is okay. But he said you don't really need that much water if you're not eating that much food. Paraphrasing, he didn't say that exactly, but you don't need that much water if you.
but what if you're training in the gym, like, and you're sweating and
I know there's brothers who still 1 meal a day in the gym every day, and they're like,
so
I'm
they
so.
don't drink water in the gym. They only drink the water
No,
during the
no,
meal.
I believe they still do drink water. They
Right,
still do
right,
drink
right,
water, though, yeah.
right.
Because at the end of the day, like when you're going to the gym, you're releasing in your sweat, you're releasing, basically the water from your body. Like you got to refill on that.
Okay. So for not to put you on the spot, but full transparency, you snack
Now,
occasionally.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. I be having some snacks here and there. You know what I'm saying? Between just keeping it real, bro.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it don't be too crazy. I be trying to have like for the most part it'd be like fruit
Yeah.
and like crackers in between.
Okay.
Yeah, or bean pie, navy bean pie. Folks, if you're in the Nation of Islam, it's not even in the Nation of Islam. If you ever had a navy bean pie, you know that
I don't know. I don't know what this is.
that navy
Let
bean
me
pie
find out
is
what
great.
navy bean
Yeah,
pie is.
I,
Let's
you might be able to go
let's
to for you because I know you're like in a different country. You may be able to go to NOI.org or not NOI.org. Supreme Bean Pie. I don't know if it's .org or .com, but Supreme
Supreme
Bean Pie,
Bean Pod.
and you can order them.
Supreme Bean Pod.
Bean pie, not pod, pie.
Supreme Bean. Oh, pot. Like that. What dot org?
Pie.
PIE pie. Sorry. Dot org.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's .org or .com. Wait, scroll down. It may. I think it's that one right there. Yeah. That's it right there.
So this is a pie made out of beans.
The navy beans, yes.
Navy beans. What are navy beans?
All right. So navy beans is what was prescribed by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which was given to him by Master Fard Muhammad, that we eat. Like the navy bean is very nutritious in protein and many different minerals that, and also they haven't been able to genetically modify the navy bean. So the navy
Right.
bean
So
is
it's
like
not like the original foods.
yeah, it's like a superfood. Yeah. So the navy bean is like a superfood, and it also um, uh, helps against or fight off radiation within the body. So, we live in a
Amazing.
world of technology, and,
Yeah.
and we got, radiation everywhere. So the navy bean actually helps ward off the radiation within your body, and it's really good. Like when you got somebody who know how to cook and they make that either navy bean pie or mostly navy bean soup, like they turn it into a soup as well. So navy bean soup is so good.
And a navy bean is one of the recommended foods
Yes.
from the Nation of Islam's book Eat to Live.
How to Eat to Live, yes, sir.
How to eat to
The
live. And
teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad,
there's
yes.
two of these books.
Yes, sir. Book 1 and 2.
Okay, so everybody on their health journey, don't even have to be on a
Yeah,
spiritual journey.
you can go to I believe it's store.finalcall.com, and you can get How to Eat to Live book 1 and 2 on
Amazing.
there.
Okay. And this book is the actual teachings. Where does it come from? Does it come from Elijah Muhammad, from God, from Dr. Sadie, a bit of everything? Where do you know the origins of these Eat to
Well,
Live
what I
teachings?
think what was very interesting about the book How to Eat to Live is that is the only book from Elijah Muhammad, or two books from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that says from God in person, Master Fard Muhammad, by Elijah Muhammad, messenger of Allah, How to Eat to Live. So like those two books are literally like a prescription from God of how you need to eat to essentially live. So each book is $5. The soft covers are both $5. So $10 investment for knowledge on how to eat to extend your life.
100%.
Yeah, that's a
Do you
dollar
know if there's an ebook
return on
version?
investment.
Because
You
I know
said,
people loving the ebooks these days.
oh yeah, I don't think this is in the ebook, but there are. I believe there's a sister on YouTube who like reads over the books and stuff like that.
Okay.
But to
Okay.
have for yourself, you definitely want to get How to Eat to Live book 1 and 2.
So you got for another like 15, 20? Because we've been live for 75 minutes.
Yeah. I'm good. I'm good.
All right, amazing. So what are some teachings of the Nation of Islam that you can extract and pass on to anyone watching this or anybody in general who has very limited exposure to the Nation of Islam and Islam in general, and that they could apply to their life to make them a better human and to get them closer to the source?
Mm. Well, I won't say the number one, but one of my favorite is, accept your own and be yourself. You know, really,
Accept your own and be yourself.
yes.
Is that an actual quote or are you
Yeah,
paraphrasing?
that's an actual quote, and I believe that's what uh, Master Fard Muhammad, um, you know, or that's one of the things that he said to, believers in the Nation of Islam earlier is accept your own and be yourself in the Nation of Islam. It's like, but we also further are taught that yourself is a righteous Muslim, so we have to act in accord with ourselves, with righteous principles. You know what I'm saying, and be okay being ourselves. You know what I'm saying, because people in this world, they'll look at you crazy if you're trying to act righteous. If you're trying to be right, they like you not trying to do wrong, and
Yeah,
then they'll
because
look at you
it's
and it
so
makes you,
accepted. It's so
and it makes
accepted
you
to do
act
wrong.
better than yourself.
Like this is why people be saying I'm on demon time, and then get celebrated for being on the devil's side.
Yeah,
That's
being
insane.
on the time of demons. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
when you could be on God time. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Righteous time. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah. That's the time I'm on. I'm on that side.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So, yeah, I think that's one of my favorite. Also, just whatever your gift is too, that quote, accept your own and be yourself, being yourself in what God has given you is very key, because we may look at somebody else and want to be them. And there's nothing wrong with, having a role model or, an influencer, somebody who is influencing, certain things. But at the same time, you have to look within and say, what has, you know, God given me, my God given abilities, and then act in accord with that. And you have to be grateful with that. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things that I'm learning deeper, just being grateful with the gifts that I've been given, what I take interest in, you know what I'm saying, what I do best. So, you know, that's one
Including
of
but not
the.
limited to hydroponic farming.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's definitely.
Hydroponic farming and having at least a reasonable level of financial literacy in crypto and blockchain,
Oh
as
yeah,
well as
absolutely.
precious metals.
And then having the
How much
interest,
the value?
and having the interest, like, you don't like necessarily know where some thoughts come from, but they just come out, they just pop up in your mind, and then certain thoughts you act on, certain thoughts you don't fully act on. You know what I'm saying? But the ones that I have acted on, I feel like they come pretty natural once I learn and I get, more acquainted with them. And then once I get in action, I try and, I put them in a place, or now I put them in motion. Like, for example, the hydroponics, like, it's just like natural to me to know what to do now once I've learned, and I'm okay with like doing it repetitive. Some people
Maybe
make.
10 generations ago, your great granddad was a farmer,
Yeah, so
and
you never
it
know.
passed on to the bloodline.
Yeah, you never. Well, I know for sure somebody in my family was on a cotton field. You know what I'm saying? On a cotton. I don't know when, but at some point, because black people can't even find a history
Yeah,
like other people. Like, it's
black
so
people in
lost.
America.
There's absolutely black people in
Yeah.
America. That goes for North America, Central America, South America.
See, that's the difference in the UK. Black people know where they're from.
Mm,
Because most black British people aren't ancestors of slaves. Most black British people came here, and like at least their granddad or parents. Most of my black British friends, their parents are from Africa or the Caribbean
mm.
directly.
And see, we even black people, it's kind of hard to find a great grandmother.
Yeah.
Just one great, let alone three, five greats. They At that point you getting lost into what happened or what slave master they were sold to or something like that, or you know.
Sorry, something just clicked to me. I disconnected before when I went onto 19 Keys talking about brown people and shouting out South Asians. Um, the, this is why I have so much respect for the Nation of Islam, is because as the most oppressed people in America, you need to have the greatest military system. Like your system, your discipline needs to be stronger because you guys are so far behind. So, or like economically speaking, compared to the white man in America,
Mhm.
but by design, right? So the only way, like 19 Key said this, he said like black people don't need equal opportunities than white people because white people are already so far ahead. So what black people need is they need the extra discipline, they need the extra knowledge, and
Yeah, we need
it's
unity
yeah. You need
and
extra unity
unity. And,
uh, uh,
and the thing is,
in order to make the playing field more even.
amongst all black people, we're one of the richest nations in the world. I believe
You mean the
we
African
got like
continent?
1.3 trillion dollars worth of spending power as a community, black people in
Oh,
America.
oh, oh, black people in America. Yeah,
But
I'm
we're
aware. I'm
not
aware. Yeah, the black dollar.
united. We're not united in where that money is going, where that money is delegated to. Like we make a lot of money as a people. We're just not united as a people to really bond that stuff together. And that's the importance of the Nation of Islam because this is a nation and we're growing in
Hmm.
people, finances, in everything. And we're united in one nation that was set up by God. The structure was set up by God and it's ever evolving and it's ever improving. And you know what I'm saying? It may
Hmm.
not be what you think it is, but it's going to continue to grow. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a this is a nation in the belly of the beast. And
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
trying to get people
In the land of the most sin.
in the land of the most sin, the working with the lowest level of people in human history, trying to raise them up to a certain level and then operating on building a nation. And it's already ongoing. It's continuing.
Yeah,
So
93 3 years of work, right?
absolutely. And that just goes to show the power of who Master Farad Muhammad was to establish something like this and for it to keep going. You know what I'm saying? The structure
100%.
that he set up, the structure that was, laid in place, and then the work that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did for 40 years up until his departure, and then the work that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has done for another 46 years, like we said. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, in continuing, we're still working on ourselves. Like, we're coming out of a 400-year slavery, and we're only about maybe 100 years out.
yeah.
Maybe, you know what I'm saying? We're only 100 years away from not even 100. People's grandparents were slaves. You know what I'm saying? I know people whose grandparents were slaves. I know people whose great grandparents were slaves. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? It's a constant growth process for us, but gradually, and as people see, we're starting to rise in consciousness and finances and intelligence. You know what I'm saying? The times have definitely changed, man. It's not the same, and that's what has the people in power so shook up. They shook up, honestly, and they don't like the way black people are growing in knowledge and are growing in study and in wisdom and doing for itself, getting your
Could you
own
just
land, producing your
ju-
own food products. You know what I'm saying?
just so it's very clear, could we just define they?
Who is they?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Just so we're very clear.
I would say they is Satan. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan described Satan as those who they're very intelligent men and women who know the truth of things, who know what's going on, but they use their knowledge to get good people to do bad, who get
Mm,
good people to, become slaves, who get good
mm,
people to, being lower than themselves, who invest in uh, the degenerative things of society and make the masses follow suit with the degenerative things of society. Now, what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan have been doing is teaching people about who these people are. Name dropping. You got the Rockefellers, you got the Rothschilds, the people you don't see. You got central bankers who
yeah.
control the money and fund
The
things.
Fed,
You got the
FCC.
Fed, you got the ECB, you got the European Central Bank, you got
Yep, yep, yep,
you got
yep.
all of these, and
The
then the
Bank of
people that
England
they
in the
show you,
UK.
and then the people that they show you are not
Devilish
necessarily
entities.
the ones in control.
Mm-hmm.
It's people behind the Jerome Powell. It's people behind the European Central Bank commissioner. I forgot the lady's name,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's people behind them who are setting things in place for their own. Klaus Schwab. These are like
World
the one.
Economic Forum.
These are the 1% of 1%. You got the IMF. You got the World Health Organization. You got all of these different organizations
The
and groups
World
of
Health
people.
Organization that ironically are making everyone sick.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? People out here like Bill Gates pushing vaccines, and you don't even got a degree in medical, or you know what I'm saying. You're a owner of the biggest tech company in the world, you know, or one of the biggest tech companies in the world. So
Hundred
you
percent.
know, it's like that's who are faced with. We're faced with people who are really intelligent, and people to they want to keep feeding on the bottom.
It's doing the devil's work, right? The devil in human form.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so there's one more thing I want to touch on that I think is very interesting. And guys, let us know if you enjoyed this. I'll be very, very happy to do a part two. Um, Non-black people in the Nation of Islam. Because prior to speaking to you, I thought you had to be African American, but you demystified that because there were some significant players in the Nation of Islam who look a bit like me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that goes to where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about, you know, the Asiatic nation, you know, and all of those who are a part of the Asiatic nation are the brown man, the yellow man, the red man. You know, that's native, so-called Native Americans. That's the Japanese. That's those who have branched off of the Japanese, the Indonesians, the Asians. The Asians would be, or like the Chinese man would be like considered the yellow man or the Asian. So
Yeah, yeah,
all of
yeah.
these people are a part of the Asiatic nation. But when it comes down to the total opposite of the black man, the white man or the Caucasian man is not a part of the original family. So you see a lot of people who are, you know, there's Hispanics in the Nation of Islam, there's Asians in the Nation of Islam, there's, you know, Filipinos in the Nation of Islam. Anybody who is a part of the original family can join the Nation of Islam. Like I showed you, there's Asians in the Nation of Islam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was. I had no idea, but that was really dope that
Yeah,
you showed me.
so you know, there was a scientist about 6,000 years ago named Yakub, and he started the grafting process of turning the black man or making white out of black. He found within us a brown germ, which is the lesser part of the dominant black germ or darker germ. So he found a way to manifest this brown germ, manifest this weaker part, the recessive part of man, the black man. Before 6,000 years ago, there was only black people on the earth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Before there,
I followed you accept that.
so he set up a process of selective breeding, selective grafting, selective murder. So that's marrying a darker person onto a lighter person. They have a child. If the baby comes out darker, out with the baby, literally kill the baby. And if the baby is lighter, keep the baby. And that went on for a process of 600 years. And after 200 years of the process, you got the brown man, or what's called the Japanese man, which, you know, went out and, you know, created many other different, you know, variations of himself.
Hmm.
You got the yellow man, the Chinese man, the Asian. So now you have the Asians. And then you come all the way down to after yellow, he got it down to the point to where now it's just white people after 200 years of each process. Now, mind you, he didn't live till 600 years old, but he had a law, a system in place where people would continuously do this over and over. And basically, it would be inherent. It would be in the nature of them to continue this. And now you see in the white man all over the world, he's a liar. He is a mischievous person. He's a murderer. And this is all because it's in the nature of how he was created through this grafting process of selective murder, selective breeding. You know what I'm saying? He puts the darker against the darker, and he basically, like we're taught, he's the skunk of the planet Earth. He comes in between. Like if you look at a skunk, he comes in between the black, and he divides them like the white line on the skunk. So, you know, going back to what you were talking about, everybody is who was a part of the original nation can join the Nation of Islam, except the the opposer of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everybody who was a part of the original family.
So here's a personal one. Do you have any white friends?
Do I? I've had some white friends before. Um,
Is it prohibited
yeah,
for,
man,
for people in Islam to have white friends?
I grew up in Indiana, bro. I had many white friends, bro. I'm thinking about that now. I'm like, I grew up in Indiana. There's white people everywhere in Indiana. I've had
Yeah,
white friends. Um, it's not necessarily prohibited, but like, no, it's not prohibited. But for the most part, I have all of my friends are black. Like, I just have a closer connection to them. It's nothing to, like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Because like this is the way that this is my kind of take on that. I also have my friends, and the people who my Caucasian friends know who they are dope, and they're fully submerged in I guess what you could say UK black culture. Basically, I have kind of a thing where it's just like all my white friends are white friends who are in
Mm-hmm.
UK black culture, which is a very subjective thing. When we all go into like what is UK black culture, that's a whole different thing. But it's a generally accepted term, right? But I do believe that the majority, kind of people click things up, right? Disclaimer: I believe most white people are cool, but I do believe most of the evil in this world it's not done by white people. But if you look at like the most evil, most
If you
of
look
these
at
guys
history,
are Caucasian.
if you look throughout history, they've done very destructive, very destructive things to everybody in the world. They dropped the first two atomic bombs and the only atomic bombs to ever fall in the world. You know what I'm saying? And that was on uh, Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Mhm.
A lot of the destruction and death that has happened in the past 6,000 years, they've you know can be tracked back to them. You know what I'm saying? And it's not necessarily anything about you know uh, racism or anything like that, but they were divinely given time to do this. You know what I'm saying? We're taught that they are the manifestation of the lower self of the black man. They were in
Mm.
us at one point in time, like I talked about that brown germ. They are us, but the most recessive, the least of us, but they have knowledge. They've been given power. They've been given dominion over everything over this last six
Yeah,
thousand
because
years. Look at
hella Caucasians, even Caucasians, extremely smart, like Hitler.
and look at what they're doing. They're extremely intelligent. Now they're the recessive of us, and with their knowledge and the knowledge that they've been given and have been divinely, you know what I'm saying, permitted to have. Look at what they've done. They built a whole world, you know what I'm saying, on lies, on mischief, on all of these different principles added on to the knowledge that they have. It just goes to show what can we do, you know what I'm saying, when we clean ourselves up and we grow in knowledge and we grow in wisdom. What world can we create? In the nature of us is what? Righteousness. In the nature of us, we were created by God. We've been here from the beginning with God. You know what I'm saying? Like, our very beginning starts with God Himself, and then creating what? Black people. And that's not necessarily racism. That's, like we just said, we talked about the recessive and the dominant germ. Before black people, there was no other but us and God,
Hmm. Hmm. So
the creator.
what would be some wisdom that you could drop on a Caucasian brother or sister? Like, would it first of all be accepting that a Caucasian person would have to work a bit harder when it comes to connecting to God and the source?
Absolutely. you know, well, the wisdom that I would, give them is one, the knowledge of self and where they came from, and
The-
they have to be,
yes,
they would have to
that
be
is it. The knowledge of self and where you came from.
exactly, because if you're not a native, people don't call native, or people don't call Europeans native to anywhere. They don't say, oh, you're a native European. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? People don't say they're native to everywhere because they essentially they're not native to Europe. They're native to the black men and women.
yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
came out of us, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's really interesting when you look at it. You don't go anywhere and just be like, yeah, a European is native. White people are native to here, blah blah blah. Yeah, they come from Europe because they were bound in Europe for so long. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was taught to us that we bound them in there or in Europe for making mischief in the Holy Land. So over in the Middle East, they were basically, after they were created by Yaqub, they came back into the what's called the Holy Land or in the Middle East, and they started creating mischief, and they were banished or exiled from the Holy Land into Europe, and they were bound there for a certain period of time. So that's what I would give them, the nature of who they are and where they came from. You know what I'm saying? And many won't be accepting of what they
Yeah,
might hear.
I was not saying like Caucasians should hate themselves. It's just
Yeah,
being aware, like this is where I come from, so I must act. I'm just gonna use the phrase like "white boy wasted." Yeah, like let's just take this is a societal observation that I've noticed, right? Like in England, unfortunately, there's like a really big drinking culture. Don't know what it's like in America, but in England, it's really bad, right? And like when I just use, it's just commonly accepted amongst ethnic minorities. Like even when non-Caucasians drink, they're not generally speaking as rowdy as the Caucasians. Like you see why. I mean, you shouldn't drink anyway. It's haram. But I'm right. I don't drink.
yeah,
But I'm just saying, like when I just observe, like when I've been in environments where people do consume alcohol, which is a conscious effort that I'm now trying to avoid completely. Like not just not drinking, but actually not being in that environment,
hmm,
at all. Period. I've noticed just from a societal point of view, like it's you see black and white people drink, black, white, brown people drink, and Asian people drink. And the rowdiest people, 90% of the time, are gonna be the Caucasians. And it's having that like self-knowledge as a Caucasian person of really studying your history and your bloodline and accepting that, okay, this is what my ancestors done, this is where my genes are placed. So I must make a more conscious effort to really not wild out and give into slave master tendencies, right?
yeah, yeah, or unnatural tendencies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the nature of us is to not do that. Like
yeah.
when there was, you know, I was learning in U.S. history that when some of the colonizers came over here for manifest destiny, which is their way of saying we are destined to travel west and take all of the land and have all of the land going further west. Um, they came across in Savannah, Georgia. They came across some Native Americans, or what they're called now, Native Americans, but they're original people, and they came across them, and there was some of them who were trying to get the natives to drink, or the original people to drink rum, like they rum,
Mhm.
and they wouldn't accept it. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't accept the rum. You know what I'm saying? It's not for them. They're already living. Their nature is to not be intoxicated. You know what I'm saying? Now, although we were taught that the original men, or the natives living in America, were exiled to America 16,000 years ago for uh, um, rebelling against the laws of Islam, or rebelling against Islam, it was still in their nature to not want to accept that. They know it. They already have an inherent, you know, um, instinct and a thought that rum is no good. But now look
Mhm.
at us. We drinking all over the place. You know what I'm saying? They got black people like alcohol is just, you know what I'm saying, the thing. Like, you know what I'm saying. I wasn't a victim of drinking alcohol. I was a victim of smoking weed, though. I'm gonna just be honest. Like I was,
I like
like,
your honesty.
you know what I'm saying. Before I was registered in the nation, I smoked weed a lot. You know what I'm saying. Even before that, knowing that I was going to make the decision to uh, join the Nation of Islam, I stopped smoking as much, and I was getting myself off of smoking weed
And,
because I
and,
knew
and,
I was
and
going to.
that's an important point because the thing is with the journey of ascension and the journey to truth is that it doesn't happen overnight.
Oh no.
So anyone who's trying to quit something, like it would be amazing if you could just quit tomorrow, but cutting down is an acceptable step.
And now you could, just get off of it, right away. You really can,
Yeah.
but it's just really about allowing yourself to go back to that which is not good for you. You know what I'm saying? Are you going to allow that to happen? You know what I'm saying? And knowing that it's not good for you, you got to catch when that thought arises up within you. Like, am I going to do this again? Like, no. You know what I'm saying? Like, or you may say yes, and then like we're taught. I have something here. One more thing because I really want to touch on this. I have
Go,
this
go.
right here, um, talking about how, because I know we've talked about white people much here, and them being like the devil and being Satan and things like that. I want to talk about real quick how in us we rationalize doing evil. You know,
Sorry, say that again.
we rationalize doing evil
Yeah.
with our own mind, our own thought.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have the thought to do something good and then think ourselves out of doing good and then think ourselves into doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said one time, he said, deceptive intelligence is a part of the human being. And then he later said, Satan is a part of the human intelligence. Satan,
Wait, one more time, one more time. So in the UK, just to share a little bit about our music culture, we have something called grime, right? Which is
mm-hmm,
like a subgenre of hip hop mixed with like drum and bass. And similar to Jamaican dancehall, right? We like the music a lot of times, they don't do this in America in hip hop, but we get like a rewind. So like when somebody says something hard, it gets rewinded, right?
yeah.
So rewind, say that again.
So we of course we know about the Satan outside, which white people, they're pretty wicked and evil. He said, see, deceptive intelligence is a part of the human being.
Deceptive.
Satan is a part of human intelligence. Now he later said here that I can add to that. He said Satan has been with the human from the very beginning of God's creation, but
Yeah.
he had no form or expression. Then he said, I'm going to give Satan form and expression and then give him dominion and power to see if evil is equal to good. Now, the giving him form and expression is the creation of the white race because now we have our lower self manifestly here on earth
And in power.
and in
I'm
power.
winning the world. I'm
That's what
pushing
I'm saying. So
agendas.
now we have an example of what that Satan of self is capable of
Mhm.
doing, and that's all I really wanted to touch on because that's so powerful. Because a lot of times we can get caught up on looking outside, but on the inside, it's a whole war going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Between God and Satan,
Alcohol.
between our higher self and our lower self.
Hmm.
So yeah, keep that in mind, especially that Satan is a part of human intelligence. So there's always a constant battle between God inside and Satan. Between Allah and Satan, there's always a battle going on within there. So I thought that's very, very powerful. And that's when we have to look in within self and, watch our thoughts and watch what, we allow to enter in our thoughts and influence what we do.
Well, this is the thing, connecting to that. The more intelligent, yeah, you become, the more access to knowledge that you unlock, the more potential evil you are able to do
and the more
because you know more.
potential of good that you have, or that you're able to do in righteousness.
That's
Like
the
it says in
double-edged
the,
sword. That's the double-edged
like
sword.
Allah says in the Quran, I Allah am the best knower. In this book, there is no doubt about it. So if Allah is the best knower, look at what He's doing with what He knows. He's doing good. He's
All
the
knowing,
God
all
of truth
merciful.
and
Yeah,
righteousness. Yeah.
yeah.
And we're made in the image and likeness of God, meaning we have the capability of attaining knowledge and becoming more of a knower, becoming more of a best knower. Maybe not like on the supreme being level, but we're capable of acquiring knowledge and being like God. Everybody is.
100%,
So yeah, that's
100%.
what I wanted to leave as my last point.
So this has definitely extended to further than expected. Um, this has been amazing. This is my first ever like Islamic. I've been a content creator for so long. I think maybe 10 years or whatever. And this is the
Mm.
first time in my life that I've ever had an extended conversation about Islam and faith. And I've learned so much on this call. So thank you very much for your time.
Man, thank you, brother,
Um,
for having me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I would be so down to do another one, maybe specifically on hydroponic farming, right?
Yeah,
We'll get very specific. Um, it's also been great because I've not used my YouTube for a long time because I've been so focused on a blockchain sensor YouTube. So it's nice to have a free flowing platform. Um, Guys, let us know what you think. I'm gonna promote this hard. I'm gonna rewatch this and find like the timestamps to get some dope clips, etc.
yes,
Um,
sir.
would you like to promote anything?
Man, I would just say, man, I thank you for having me on here. This was definitely something, because I've been thinking on how I want to rebrand my way of creating content, especially with me joining the Nation of Islam, and how I want to present myself online. One, I would say first you can go to my Instagram at
Yeah,
Rahkim
I'll put that in the
X,
description.
and you can click the link in my bio. There's a link there if you're interested in joining the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam is international in the UK, in the United States here. So yeah, you could go, you know, click the link to join the Nation of Islam. I have a link to an ebook about blockchain, the beginners like knowledge about blockchain if you're a beginner. Also, you can download the Final Call Radio with one of those links in there, and the Final Call, to where you can have a digital Final Call newspaper. So the Final Call newspaper is the national newspaper for the Nation of Islam that we distribute every week here in the United States, and the brothers there in the UK do as well. So that's the digital version on the Final Call digital, and
Dude,
there's
give me
also,
all these links, and I will, because I've already put your Instagram in the description, and then just give me all these links you want me to put in,
yes, sir.
and they'll be easily clickable.
Absolutely, man. Mostly you can go to my Instagram at RackHimX, and yeah, you can go from there.
Okay, Rakim X, thank you very much, mashallah. This has been a extremely enlightening
Absolutely,
conversation. I hope other people also receive value.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I will definitely be engaging and studying more with regards to the Nation of Islam. Just to be transparent, it's 21st of May 2023, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm trying to join the Nation of Islam or anything like that. I'm on my spiritual journey of becoming a better Muslim in general, and I think it is very important for well, it's important for people in general to connect with other societies, but I think one thing that's really important in the world of Islam is for people, of different sects or whatever you want to call it of Islam to actually connect with each other, because Indonesia is the most populous Islamic country in the world, fourth most populous country in the world. China, India, America, and then Indonesia. But I don't really feel like the Indonesian, Islamic community really connects with anybody else, from the Middle East, from Africa. And I've always had so much respect for the Nation of Islam, from outside looking in. And then
Crazy.
obviously 19 Keys has made me even more interested. And then by accident, or not by accident, because everything's with the intention of Allah, we met through Financial Conspirator. And I am, whether I am ever part of the Nation of Islam or what, or not, I will definitely take teachings from the Nation of Islam that I can apply to my own, Islamic journey
Absolutely.
to be a better Muslim. So
Absolutely.
yeah, this has been awesome. I can't wait to tap into the Nation of Islam in London. I'm going to London, going back next week for a week. I'm going to see if I can just like pull up and buy a book, or just say assalamu alaikum to the brothers there. And I'm really excited to make like my first Nation of Islam friend in London, because you are the only connect I have to the Nation of Islam world. So I'm
Yeah,
very
and I gave you the brother's Instagram who lives in the UK, so you can connect with him,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he'll plug you
Please
into all
do.
the information that goes on that scene.
Absolutely, absolutely. Rakim X, I'm sure we will be collaborating again on some other great
Absolutely.
content. I'm gonna fulfill my promise. I said to Rakim, if you do this podcast with me, I'm gonna schedule a one-on-one with you that I do just charge for technical analysis, because you said your TA is not so good, right?
Yeah, I'm not that astute on technical analysis, but I forgot all about that, man. I was just coming on here looking to
No,
educate
but
kids, you know what I'm saying, give what I can give, man.
you've done me a big favor. I've always wanted to start, like, I've always wanted to have something outside of Blockchain Sensei and my other companies where it was just kind of like my thing. And I feel like you were the perfect first guest. And now I'm on this journey of ascension. I kind of want this podcast to be, I basically want this podcast to be to do with not specifically documenting my journey, but sharing my ascension with other people, and knowing you and learning, just connecting with you, and being inspired by you, and being inspired by the Nation of Islam, and taking teachings and disciplines, even down to the fact that live on this video or audio, if you listen to this on Spotify, I learned that you guys fast from the first Thursday of every month up until, sorry, Thursday evening, up until, is it Sunday afternoon?
Sunday evening, yes, sir.
Sunday evening. And I've agreed publicly that I'm going to try this. Is an amazing thing. So
Man, praise be
yeah,
to Allah. You actually, had me looking back on my own journey joining into this. So, you know what I'm saying? Just reflecting back on how I got here and how I got to this point, you know, like, and the process continues. Like, once you join the Nation of Islam, it don't stop there. Like, things don't just magically get better. You're constantly in the process of growth and evolution and evolvement from
hmm
man into God. Whatever state you're in, you're on the road, you're on the path to God, and just studying, you're on the road, you're on the path to becoming, God yourself. So, man, I appreciate you for having me, man. Praise be
sure.
to Allah for this conversation. This is
Thanks for
definitely
allowing.
something that's very needed. You know what I'm saying? Making connections across the pond, across the water. You know what I'm saying? This is beautiful. This is the power of technology right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Yeah,
sitting
yeah,
here
yeah, yeah,
over
yeah.
here, you right here. No, this is amazing.
I've always been big on, like, just Asian and Black collabs in general. Like, I always think that we're two cultures that when we collaborate and do something dope, is super dope. Um, and the last thing that, wait, oh no, this disappeared. Ah, man, I can't remember. I had a thought. It's cool. Oh yeah, actually, yeah. Last question: is this your first piece of long form content speaking about the Nation of Islam? Is that what you said? Or is there any others that people can go check out?
So somewhat, I did a live stream with the brother. His name is Sincere Love to God on Instagram. I did a live stream, and I was just overall, it was like a interview about my business and where I come from and stuff like that, my background. So somewhat, I would say fully about the Nation of Islam. This has been the longest one. I
No.
talked about my growing up in the Nation of Islam on his show, but it definitely wasn't for this long. Specifically on this topic, it was about a range of many different things. It was about hydroponics. It was about crypto. It was about precious metals. It was about the
Yeah.
Nation of Islam. So, this is the longest that I've ever had. So, you know,
Well,
uh,
I'm very, very honored for you to be not only my first guest, not only my first piece of Islamic content, because this definitely comes under the general consensus of Islamic content, and your first ever. So it's a lot of first evers. Do you,
yeah,
do you have any? Do you have any? It's just a random one. You got any Indonesian friends?
Indonesian friends.
I'm gonna take it as a no.
No, I might.
Oh yeah.
I want that. I might have met. Not presently. I don't have any presently, but I might have met like an Indonesian or something like that.
Mhm.
I probably didn't know that they were, but I've met many different people. Multiculturally. You know what I'm saying?
My people are not known for immigrating too tough. So we're not like Thai people or Chinese people that are
So yeah, like
everywhere.
stay grounded.
Indonesian people are very rare outside of Indonesia, except in Holland because we're ex-Dutch colony. But
Mm,
anyway, my brother, I need to go pray. It's been fantastic. Thank you again. And yeah, we'll schedule that one-on-one. We'll get your TA up. And yeah, this is going to be an exciting journey. So thank you very much.
absolutely. Thank you for having me, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Until next time.